Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Gooners podcast. Actually, I am not following this World Cup, very much. I mean, I'm following it, but not like able to watch all the games because it's like 4 a.m. in the morning for me. And as much as you think that I'm a, disciplined guy, I am not. I wake up way late than that. But that's why we've got Mitch today with us to talk about the World Cup. Welcome back, Mitch.
Yeah, thanks for having me back again. Looking forward to figuring out how wrong I was last time. Because I prefaced the pod last time by saying I am not an expert, and I proved that by only getting like 10 of the 16 teams in the round of 16 and not even getting them in the right order.
So I mean, there were a lot of surprises, a lot of disappointments, a lot of teams that we thought like today when we are recording. It came that close to Switzerland being top of the group and Brazil being second in the group. Like that's all crazy. It's been one of those crazy World Cups. Not very crazy, but like crazier than what it was expected. So that just proves that all of us know squat about what could happen.
Yeah.
But
especially in like a World Cup, in like any tournament, anytime you get a tournament format, like the factors of just kind of anything can happen just go up a lot. Like I'm a huge fan of like expected goals and XG, but I don't think you can take anything into account when it comes to knockout tournament format, especially the World Cup, because I feel like the World Cup is it's a vibes tournament. Like it's truly a vibes tournament, and that's I think one of the things that everyone loves about it.
So before we dive deep into the discussion, for all the listeners, please do like, share, subscribe, and comment in your predictions and what we got wrong and who are the players. So we have a lot to talk about today, but you guys could always reach out to us in our social media platforms. You could reach out to Mitch in his Twitter handle. He's very active there. Mitch.
Yeah, you can find me at Mitch Piotr, MITCHPEOTTER.
Awesome. So with that out of the way, Mitch, what I thought is like before we start this whole thing, I just wanted to ask you about this tournament, right? Like because it's happening. We had the talk about like how it's happening mid-season, how that is going to affect and everything. Like taking out the politics aside, like how is this tournament been from a spectator point of view? Like especially you are in the US, so how's viewing has been for you? How is the whole experience of World Cup till now has been?
I think it's gotten better and better. I think it was like kind of a bit of a slow start to the tournament. There's a lot of 0-0s. I think a lot of teams were still trying to get on the same page. And I think Argentina is probably a really good example of that, of like a really, really slow start out of the gate. And they're like now finding their footing, and they're kind of showing flashes of like the Argentina that everyone kind of thought they'd be going into the tournament. And I think that was the case for a lot of different teams. A lot of teams have started pretty slow. There's a lot of 0-0s, a lot of low scoring games. There wasn't as much like just kind of going for it. But now in these last couple of games in the group stages, in these last games where they've been played simultaneously, they've been playing against teams that they're not even playing against, just trying to like make it through. We've seen the level raise. Everyone is up for it now. These are now knockout games.
Yeah.
And it has been so much fun to watch. I've been like dual screening a lot of these games and just like watching two games at once of like one of my favorite viewing experiences was Argentina playing Poland and Mexico playing Saudi Arabia, because Mexico and Poland were playing against each other despite the fact that they weren't. And like that factor of like these games going on simultaneously, it's coming down to like fourth tiebreakers potentially, just makes it so interesting. And I think we've gotten a really, really good spectacle of that so far in this tournament.
For me, the dual watching was especially when Spain and Japan were playing, and then like Germany and
That was a very fun one yesterday.
well,
The Costa Rica, Germany,
Costa Rica,
and
Germany, and
Spain,
yeah,
Japan.
was
Yeah, it was
very,
really,
very
really fun.
it was going back and forth about like, oh, okay, this person, if they win, this is going to happen. So it was like going on about everything. So it was really fun. But let's do this. Let's go group by group to talk about like who are there and like what are our thoughts on like them progressing. We'll also do a predictor later, but
Cool.
group by group on any important games, any important moments that we thought would be good to share, right?
Cool. Let's get into
So
it.
let's start with this. Okay. I am lost as usual, but I will find a way out of this. Okay. Now I think I've got it. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, this is awkward, but I am getting there, guys. Awesome. Let's start with this. I'll share my screen. That makes sense. And so yes. So Group A was like we kind of got it right, I guess, right? I think we
Yeah.
got Netherlands, Senegal.
Our
So
predictor we got right for the order. I think the one surprise was just Ecuador was a lot better than we thought that they were, because it came down to the last day
yeah.
with them and Senegal. And I think Ecuador was just, they were surprised because they were legit. Like, they were a good team. They had
Yeah.
just as much of a right to make it into the knockouts as Senegal did, and credit to them, but also credit to Senegal for being able to do it and make it through to the next round without their best player.
But the first thing for me it was in this group, especially Netherlands were the team that I was even though they made it top of the group, I was actually disappointed with the way they played.
I
Um,
100% agree. Yeah, I as a US fan, I am not scared of them. I said in the last pod that we recorded, and
yeah.
I predicted that the US could beat them if they met in the round of 16. And they're meeting tomorrow in the round of 16.
Yeah.
I think the US is a shot of getting a result. I think that, and I think we'll go into it more later when we go through the predictor. But like, I have not been that impressed by the Netherlands.
Is that because like even though they have such a good team, right? The Netherlands is one of those like the we will talk about the other one, the major one. But Netherlands is one of those teams which for me, like looking at the team, I'm going like, oh, I would love Frankie de Jong to play for Arsenal. I would love this player to play for Arsenal. There are a lot of players like that I feel like, oh, they are legit good players, like almost superstars. But somehow that's not clicking for them.
Yeah, I think it's like a bit of like uh Van Gaal's system is like slower and not as like, it's not as high powered attacking like that you really, really want out of a team that has a lot of like really good players. And I think their strengths are more built out of their defense than they are out of their attack. Obviously Cody Gakpo's had a really good tournament so far.
Yeah.
Like he's been their star, but like, their core of their team is definitely in the more of the defensive side of their setup, which kind of just creates just not as exciting of a team. And so that I think they do look like a bit vulnerable because of could be lack of goals. But I mean, from the US perspective, since they're playing tomorrow, the US has not scored a lot of goals either. Which is why I think that game could go either way.
But okay, anyways, we are here at the Group B. Before that, though, how disappointed were you of Qatar? I mean, did you have a expectation of them, like at least plucking
They
a draw or
exceeded
something?
my expectations because they scored a goal. I did not think they would score a goal. And they exceeded my expectations by scoring exactly one. I had zero to no expectations about this team, and that was met because they were terrible.
Okay, so Group B, that's where like you made the homer pick of like US progressing, and they did progress.
Yep.
But talking on the whole about Group B, Wales were terrible. Wales were like
Yes.
absolutely bad. Like they had nothing there. One goal scored in the whole tournament, and they didn't look like a team. In fact, Iran looked better than Wales for
Way
me.
better. Yeah, Wales were awful, and also credit to Iran, they looked really, really good. I It was annoying watching the Wales Iran game as a US fan, because it was just like frustrating of like, how did we drop points to these guys? They are terrible. Their only goal came from a penalty, from like a really dumb play out by Walker Zimmerman, to give up that penalty. They were a terrible team. Iran, on the other hand, was a really, really well put together team. They had some really dynamic players. They scared me as a US fan going into that last game of as a decider. I'm like, anything can happen here. Iran, they look like a good team. I think that their game against Wales was a better representation of what they were than their game against England, because they got destroyed against England, but they looked so good against Wales. And I'm really happy that the U.S. got a result against them. But credit to Iran, they played really well, especially with there's a lot of storylines about that team through this tournament, like through all their protests of everything that's happening back in Iran. So credit to that team and everything that they were doing with those protests, and through these like threats towards their families and stuff like that. They played a great tournament. Credit to them. But yeah, we got it right with the 1-2 of England USA.
But US, talking about the US team, you uh, you still cannot find the team like clicking in its gear. Like they are playing decent, but they are still missing that X factor. Is it
I
because
think
of Pulisic not stepping up, or is it because like the team doesn't have that single point of player?
I think that people put Pulisic in this role of like that he's the player that's going to carry the US, when I don't think that's really a role that he can provide. He's been marketed as that, but I don't think that's really him. I think that he's a good player for this US team, and like it should be playing, and I think he has played a pretty good tournament in terms of output and stuff like that. But he's not exactly like the superstar carrying the team that we need, and that we do have that actually in the midfield. I
Yes.
think the US's midfield has proven to be one of the strongest in this tournament, of the three of Adams, McKinney, and Musa. That is the reason why I think the US can do anything. That's why they made it out of the group. They're able to have control of matches with that midfield that puts less strain on the defense, that allows the attack to have more of the ball. That having a strong midfield is so vital, especially in a tournament format. That is the reason why I think the US can do anything. That's why I think the US can beat the Netherlands, even though we haven't scored many goals, because the goals will come if you can have control. We've seen the same thing with Arsenal, where we've seen that progress of just like having control and keeping control of matches, to now we are winning. You have the control, you are able to have the ball, you then have more opportunities, you get more goals eventually. So I think the US will get there. We'll see if that happens tomorrow. But like this core of this midfield is so vital to this US team being really successful.
Yeah, but going back to England though, I mean, it was for me, England were hot and cold. They did play that opening game against Iran like flying off the bat. Like they played it like no fear. Everyone was attacking. Everything was clicking. Our boy Saka scored 2 goals. He like there was play happening everywhere. And I think after that they kind of like tapered. The team didn't look like it's clicking. I remember seeing an old interview of I think Lampard, Gerrard, and Rio Ferdinand sitting together and talking about why their generation of English players didn't click together, and it was because they didn't get that. The players didn't gel well. Do you feel that's where England's weakness is? Because it doesn't seem like, because they scored 6 goals in the first game, and look at their goal scored. Like they scored 3 more in the rest of.
Yeah, I think that that's honestly pretty impressive to have scored 9 goals in 3 games. Uh, 6 of them obviously came against Iran, but then 3 of them came against Wales.
Yeah.
I think that it's more to the credit of the US playing a really good game in that 0-0. If I was an England fan, I don't think there's really anything to worry about because their team is really strong. The fact that they played their second team against Wales, were still able to score 3 goals, and now there's like conversations of like, oh, who should start in certain positions. It's a really good problem to have for England. I think that they're still going to go really far in this tournament and like have a chance at doing something. And I think that this is a very similar squad to the one that made the finals in the Euros last summer. So I think that this team has had a lot of time to gel, and especially within a tournament format. So I'm by no means worried about England. I think it was just the US's midfield having really, really good games against England, and just the US playing really well in that match in general to just control it. I don't think that game was anything to sound an alarm for England.
Okay, but still, do you see from our perspective, we've already seen that Ben White is back in England with a personal emergency. So literally, we have right now in the English squad, and with the US we have Matt Turner, of course. But with the English squad, we have Saka and what's his name, Aaron
Ramsdale,
Ramsdale. Yeah. So like we talked, I don't think Ramsdale is going to play. Do you see Saka playing a lot going forward, or do you see his position is under threat?
Yeah, I think that he still plays a lot going forward. I think there's like conversations after Rashford's performance against Wales that like maybe he would have a chance of playing more, but I still think Saka gets a lot of minutes. He's very important to this England team and how they play. I think he's probably their most organic right winger that they have, because Rashford primarily plays off the left, Foden plays off the left or in midfield. He's their most like organic right winger that they have. So if Southgate wants to play someone on the right in an important match, I think Saka's their choice. And I'm not worried as an Arsenal fan. Like I'm happy for him to be playing a lot. Like I want him to be playing in important matches because he is just that good. And he's one of those players where I'm not necessarily like super worried about his health. He's one of those. He's a very direct player. So like he gets knocked down a lot, but he's shown himself to be a very tough guy. So and he also hasn't played 90 minutes in any game he's played because of England's has so many players that they can play across the front line. So that's also something that a silver lining for Arsenal fans is, yeah, Saka is an important player for England, but he's also not consistently playing 90 minutes because they have so many attacking players.
Yeah, that makes sense. But are you happy with the 1 and 2 in this group B?
Yeah. I expected US to get second and England to get first. So I'm happy with that.
Group C was the interesting one, right? Like for to start off with that game, I mean, Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia, that was an interesting game to start off with. And I mean, it went till the last day, and it went to the point where it was literally like, oh, both Poland and Mexico had the same point, same goal difference. There was one point where people are going like, oh, yeah, but Poland gets through because of their good discipline.
Yeah, because they had less yellow cards at one point, so they were going to go through on that, which is a crazy way to tie break things, but it's very funny that we were like.
I mean, it's better than tie breaking with like alphabetical order the team gets in.
Yeah, I guess it's better than like to be fair, if they had the same amount of yellow cards, it would go to lots where it would just be randomly selected, which is crazy to me. But yeah, this group immediately became interesting on match day 1 when Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, because I think a lot of people expected Argentina to run away with the group. They did ultimately win the group after that opening day loss, which credit to them for like actually kind of getting it together, because in that game against Saudi Arabia and in the first half against Mexico, this Argentina team looked bad.
Yes.
It looked really, really, really bad. I think Enzo Fernandez coming into the team consistently, both in the second half of that Mexico game and then starting against Poland, has really changed their game a lot. I think that they've been able to control matches better through their midfield. And Messi has just done his thing. They've been able to be successful because of just finding control in their midfield. Messi's doing his thing in their attack. Argentina is a really, really good team. But yeah, this group got really interesting on the final day. Any two of the teams could have gone through. Saudi Arabia kind of fell off, obviously, at the end there. But that race between Poland and Mexico up until the last minute of the games was really, really exciting, and one of my favorite moments of the tournament to be watching those two games simultaneously.
But to start with, like, because you were going on about Argentina, right? Like that Enzo Fernandez guy, he looks like, I mean, I've been going back and forth on it. Like, he's had more space and time in games for him to do the things that he's doing. So I'm looking like, oh, maybe he will not fit into the, like, thinking as an Arsenal fan, I'm looking at players going like, oh, he might fit into the Arsenal team. But then I'm also thinking like, oh, he might not because he's having more space. And then one of my friend corrected me saying like, oh, he might be the proper replacement for Xhaka in future. So what are your thoughts on Enzo Fernandez?
I think he's clearly shown that he's a very talented player. I have not watched enough of him to really know like specifically like his role and where he would fit in for Arsenal. I haven't watched a lot of Benfica, or even like that much of like specifically him with Argentina, but he's clearly made a difference with them. But I haven't watched enough of him to really know where he would fit in potentially with Arsenal. But we haven't been linked with him in any way, so I don't know.
That's one of the reasons why I'm like, oh, maybe we would get him, because we always get players whom we are not linked with. But from Argentina perspective, like their forwards have not been firing. Like there has been a lot of talk about like Lautaro Martinez, and I don't see him playing like, having that impact that I think more like Messi and Di Maria has had more impact than Lautaro Martinez. Do you
Yeah,
feel
I
that
agree
way
with
about?
that. I don't think Martinez has been very good. I think Dybala's not Dybala. Di Maria's look sharp, as well as obviously Messi. I think it's interesting that Paulo Dybala has not played a single minute yet. But what is his name? For the Man City striker
Oh,
they signed over the
oh yeah,
summer.
yeah. I'm drawing blank right now.
Yeah, me too. But Alvarez.
Alvarez, yeah.
He's looked really sharp when he's played for Argentina as well. So I think potentially making those switches of like him coming into the team could help a lot in their attack. And then if we go down to Mexico, I expected them to get out of the group because they kind of always do. Um, but they did not look good at all until this last game against Saudi Arabia. They kind of had this like kind of waking up moment of like, okay, we got to do this. But this is not a good Mexico team. Credit to Poland for making it through, but this was a bad Mexico team.
There was a meme going on about how what's her name, Christmas and Mariah Carey, the same way Mexico and I mean World Cup and Ochoa, the Mexican
Ochoa was
keeper.
fantastic once again in this World
He
Cup.
always performs
Yeah,
well in in World Cup. So yeah.
yeah, but it
But
wasn't enough for Mexico, and this Mexico team was bad. But I think they'll kind of have like a rebuilding period, which will be good for them to be able to move some of these older names out. I would almost say similar to the U.S. in 2018, where the U.S. missed the World Cup entirely and then was able to just kind of refresh the entire team. Like the U.S. team that lost to Trinidad and Tobago, there's only like 2 or 3 of them on that entire like roster that are at this World Cup. So the U.S. team has changed tremendously, and I anticipate the Mexico team will change tremendously in between here and the next World Cup.
But talking about Poland though, right? Like they didn't perform well. I did not have
No,
a good feeling about this Poland team at all. Like I mean, yeah, they have progressed right now, but I don't see them playing any good football going forward. Like I don't see them making any progress in the tournament.
I agree. I was not really impressed with them either. I think it was just kind of a dogfight, and they came out on top for second division in this or second qualification in this group.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wasn't really impressed with them. I don't think they win in the next round because I'm pretty sure they play France.
Yep.
And so I definitely do not think Poland's getting by France.
But a moment for Saudi Arabia, though, like especially in the first game against Argentina, their defense looked like really good because they did all those like offside. They played a high line. They played it
Yes.
really well. And I wish I was in that team just because of the Saudi prince announcing that everyone gets a Rolls Royce. So I was like, I mean, if only I was a player in Saudi Arabia. Uh,
Yeah, it was a really, really impressive tactical performance for them to beat Argentina. I was really, really impressed with them, like playing that high line, playing that offside
mhm.
trap, and then they were able to play super effectively on the break to win that game. And yeah, credit to they were really well coached, really well, really good, well defended in that match, and credit to them. But obviously, I think they ran out of steam a little bit against Poland and Mexico.
Group D was pretty straightforward, which was surprising. I mean, we had Denmark as the number two.
Yeah,
Uh,
I wouldn't say it's straightforward just because Denmark was just so bad.
yeah,
Like they were really impressive at the Euros, which is why I think a lot of people had them as like a sneaky dark horse
yeah,
in this tournament.
yeah,
And they were horrendous. They scored one goal.
yeah.
They were really, really bad. And I wasn't necessarily impressed with Australia or Tunisia,
Yeah, I
but
was not impressed with Tunisia either. And it's the same thing, right? Like it's because of the groups, how the groups were done. Australia, Poland, both I feel were not good enough to go into the next round. But because of the groups, they are going into the next round.
yeah, and I think it's more just like Denmark did not play well and Australia took their opportunity, which fair enough to them.
Yeah, but I mean, I have no games in my mind that springs to my mind like, okay, this game was good in this group. Apart from like, France playing, entertaining football, whatever that is.
Mhm.
But this group was kind of like, something that I was not very keen to watch. Like none of the games
Yeah.
I was keen to watch. But the question,
I watched a lot of these games and a lot of them were very boring. They were either like France blowing out a team or like
Mhm,
I think the last day was pretty exciting where Australia and Tunisia and Denmark all had chances to go through, and Australia was able to beat Denmark. Tunisia beat France on the last day, which is really cool for Tunisia. Obviously, it wasn't enough because of Australia's win.
mhm.
But like there were some cool games in this group, but I would say for the most part it was a bit underwhelming, and I don't think Australia makes any run in this tournament. Obviously, France is one of the favorites, but I don't think Australia does much of anything.
But talking about France for a minute though, how much of it, like, I mean, they were looking really impressive during the tournament, but how much of that is attributed to the teams in the group? Like, Denmark was not good, Tunisia was not good, Australia was not good. So how much of France looking good is attributed to these teams, do you think?
I wouldn't put any stock in it, honestly. I think they're a favorite for a reason. They're a really good team. They're gonna make a run in this tournament. They have a chance to win it again. I'm not putting any stock in the fact that their
Even,
group wasn't that hard. Like they lost to Tunisia, but they were playing their B team. Like Brazil lost today
yeah.
against Cameroon, playing their B team. So I think that oftentimes third game you've already qualified. You can take your foot off the gas a little bit. I'm not putting much stock in that. I think France is still very much a favorite in this tournament, despite the fact that they were in an easier group, and they did really well in this easier group.
Yeah, despite the fact that Giroud scored two goals to
I
become
don't like
the
that. I don't like that at all.
no one likes that. None of our Arsenal fans like that. But he did become the joint top scorer for France,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately. But moving on to the next group, that's a Group E, right? Like, I mean, this was one of my favorite groups in sense of what had happened till the last day of the
Hmm.
group, right?
Yeah.
Japan topping the group. I mean, we didn't expect that, but Japan looks to be a very, very, very strong team, especially after they they have a good sense of all around technical ability about themselves. Like all the players are very technical, very, stringy passes. Do you feel that Japan is looking a bit more than what we thought we
No,
get?
I really like this Japan team, and I predicted them to get out of the group. I predicted them to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't anticipate them winning the group,
Mm-hmm.
especially with one with Spain and Germany in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was obviously much higher on Germany and
Mm-hmm.
much lower on Spain because I had the order being Germany, Japan, Spain, Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely got this group wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a very, very entertaining group. Like that Spain Germany game was a very fun 1-1 draw. Japan's win over Germany was super fun. And then obviously the games yesterday were a blast. By
Yeah.
like there was a point in which Japan and Costa Rica were both going to go through. And
Mm-hmm.
like it was really, really interesting, like how the standings kept changing. It was four really interesting teams. And yeah, it was a fun group to watch.
But Spain and Germany, I mean, obviously Germany are out, but they had a very slow start. Is that why they are out? Like, because I thought in the last game they did look decent, not
Yeah, I mean,
impressive, but decent.
they scored four against Costa Rica. Like that was a very, very good performance. But that loss against Japan was ultimately the thing that stopped them from getting out of the group. Because the 1-1 draw with Spain, I think those teams were just very, very evenly matched in that match.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And they did what they had to do against Costa Rica.
mm-hmm,
The dropped points against Japan is what cost them. And there's if you're in a really tough group, like this was probably the group of death,
yep.
especially with how much it was going flipping around on
Mm-hmm.
last day. um you have to win your games, and Germany were unable to do that against Japan, and that's why they're out. And I was low on Spain going into this tournament, and I've been really impressed by them. I think Luis Enrique has done a great job coaching this team. That obviously their performance against Costa Rica is their high mark since they blew them out of the water. But they've got a unique style. I think they're playing together really, really well and at a high level. I keep going back to this, like to the midfield and being able to exert control with a really good midfield. But like Pedri and Gavi have been phenomenal so far in this
Yeah.
tournament, and big reasons why Spain is going to make it out of this group.
But the thing is, for me about Spain though, is that they don't still have a striker who could change the game. Like when that's the reason I think, like, when it's Germany, when it's against Germany or against Japan, the reason that they were not able to do so well is because they are lacking that striker option up front.
Yeah, so I think on paper it looks like that, but Murata's played really, really well. I'm not high on him as a player, but he's had a really good World Cup so far, and I think he's kind of flying under the radar for how good he has been as a striker so far, for Spain. And I think he fits what they want to do really well. And so yeah, I think they are gonna want to get more goals from the wings. I think players like Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati, they need to hit the back of the net more often, if they want to make more of a run in this tournament. And I think that's the biggest stopping block from them, like being a contender of winning this. But I think they're good enough to win matches in the knockout rounds.
But talking about like our players in the World Cup, Japan has our Tomiyasu. He
Mm-hmm.
hasn't played a lot. He has come in
No,
as substitutes, but he hasn't played a lot like how we thought, oh, he's going to be a starter. He's
yeah.
not a starter for them.
Yeah, I think he's been like a little injured. I think he was injured against Costa Rica, which is why I didn't play then.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, I mean, I'm as an Arsenal fan, I'm fine with him not playing all that much. And when he has played, he's played really well. He's come in, and there has not been goals scored in Japan when Tomiyasu's been in, which is, if our players being represented, we would love for them to play well like that, and he certainly is, which is great.
But talking about Costa Rica and Arsenal, the last game I was watching the game and I was going like, oh, I know this guy, and it was Joel
Joel
Campbell
Campbell.
running around circles around like the German defense. It was fun. Costa Rica
Yeah, it was
are
it was fun to
fun.
watch two former Arsenal players battle out on the wing with Serge Gnabry
Yeah.
playing for Germany.
Uh-huh.
So it's been very fun watching all these Arsenal legends playing in this tournament. There's there's like so many Arsenal goalkeepers in this tournament, and
There's
it's
so many
ironic that
other players. Like I think in Poland, there was like at a moment when Christian Bielik was being substituted. I
yeah,
was going like, I know that guy.
yeah, and like Szczesny's played really well, and I think a
Yeah.
big reason why
Mhm.
Poland's going to the knockout stage.
Mhm.
Matt Turner's been fantastic for the U.S. Like Emi Martinez has played well. Like there's so many different Arsenal goalkeepers like spread around, and Aaron Ramsdale's not playing in this tournament, and Leno didn't make the German team unfortunately for
Yeah.
him. But and like if Colombia had made it, we would have seen David Ospina.
David Ospina.
We
Yep.
would have seen a lot of former Arsenal goalkeepers, and Matty Ryan's in the knockouts for Australia.
Yep.
Former Arsenal goalkeepers in this tournament, which is very fun.
But getting back to the Group F, though, I mean, um, it's weird that Belgium's out.
I
Belgium
got this one
for
completely wrong.
yeah, man, it is such a weird thing. Like the golden generation of Belgium has not done anything. This
Mhm.
is one of the teams that everyone looks up every tournament saying like, oh, they're gonna be good, and then they are not. For me personally, it's about the coach. It's about
Mhm.
what Martinez is, and he is not a front-footed coach. Like literally, look at the stats. They have 1 goal scored, 2 goals conceded. Like with the talent that they have in that team, that shouldn't be 1 goal scored.
Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think Roberto Martinez has done a good job at all. There's a reason that he has now stepped down from his role. But I think it's also just their window closed. They had a really, really good team. They had a lot of talent. And I think most of their players are just past it. At one point, Eden Hazard was one of the best players in the world. Lukaku was one of the best strikers in the world, and De Bruyne was
Kevin De
one of the best
Bruyne.
playmakers in the world. And now all those players, bar De Bruyne, who I still think is top of his game, even though he didn't have a great World Cup, um, has been they're past it, unfortunately for Belgium, and that's why they got grouped. I obviously I got this group completely wrong. I thought Belgium would win this group. I did not think they'd make a run because I didn't trust Martinez or the age
Mhm.
of the squad, but I still think that I thought they had the talent to make it out. And
Mhm.
then I was very high on this Canada team, and that was a bad choice because this Canada team was terrible.
I, I mean,
I
I
thought they'd
mean,
make it
uh,
out of the group.
I
They
mean,
did
I
not.
I live in Canada, and I never had the confidence to say they would make out of the group. But there was an interesting player in the Canada team, though. Like, I mean, obviously, Davies was the star, but the
Mhm,
guy called Buchanan, he was playing really
mhm.
good. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that kid looks good. Like, if we sign him and have him in the squad or send him out on loan, maybe he would be someone. But yeah, Canada was not good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And then on the flip side, Morocco was way better than I was expecting them to be. I thought they'd get last in this group, and they won the group. And that just proves how much I knew about Morocco. I I will happily hold up my hands and be like, hey, I have not watched Morocco play other than one game against the US. And I did not know enough about this team, and they won the group. They proved me wrong. I don't know if they make a run. In fact, I don't think they will make a run in this tournament. But you know, credit to Morocco, huge achievement to win this group. I thought Croatia would be past it. They still are on it. Modric still playing really well at his age, which is really impressive. I again don't know if they make a run in this tournament. I think that the game that they play in the round of 16 against Japan will be very, very interesting. I'm very interested to see how that game goes.
But Croatia, for me, the apart from Modric, they don't seem to have the inspiration to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
They have scored 4 goals, but it doesn't look like a team that is having the attacking talent or the play that is front footed. So yeah, it was not an interesting group for me. It was just interesting because Canada played in it, and because I'm in Canada, there was a lot of hype around it, and then yeah, now Canada was
I will
not.
say that this group and Group H are probably the games that I missed the most games. Like I watched most of the games in the group stage. I missed a lot. I miss a lot of F and H games. Like if I was going to sleep and I saw that Morocco and Croatia were playing in the 3 a.m. slot, I was not like, oh man, I gotta wake up for that. Because for whatever reason I was not high on a lot of these teams. And obviously I was wrong about Group F, but I did not get a chance to watch much of them.
Yeah. Moving on to Group G, it was like just as we were recording, this group kind of completed. I mean, we got Brazil right, we got Switzerland right, but it did come to the last day to define who ends up where. And Cameroon did give Cameroon and Serbia. They were not terrible,
No.
but they were not like good enough. But talking about Switzerland, though, the last game, the last couple of minutes, Xhaka got into a fight, and I'm going like, oh, he does that for everyone, not just for Arsenal.
Well, I mean, in particular in this game, it makes a lot of sense because Xhaka is Albanian, and if you're a history buff, you're kind of familiar about Albanian history with Serbia. And so, so him and Shaqiri, I knew would have good games today, and they did. And so Switzerland got through. Xhaka getting after it with Serbia players was very, very fun to watch. I think it shows his level of maturity that he's gotten to in his career, where he's able to kind of keep that fire and that aggression without losing his head about it. And I think that's been a very impressive part of Xhaka over the last like 12 months that we've seen, where he's able to kind of have that fire still. He's still a very passionate player, but he's not doing stupid things as much, which is really good to see. Like if you're an Arsenal fan or if you're a Switzerland fan, like that's really, really great.
But talking about I'm not going to talk about Cameroon and Serbia because there was not much to talk about. But talking about Brazil, though, Martinelli had a great game today, but still ended up on the losing side. Jesus got sometimes today, but still ended up on the losing side. This Brazil team looks like they are going to go the distance for me.
Yeah. They were my favorite going into the tournament. They are still my favorite. I like them a lot. I think they've just got so much talent. They've been able to show that talent even without Neymar. They lost today, but I don't think that that's really gonna be a hindrance on them potentially winning this World Cup.
Okay, quickly moving on to Group H. Portugal making it out of the group. I mean, I knew in my head that it's gonna happen, but in my heart, I really wish Portugal didn't. But obviously they did. South Korea was an interesting one because I thought Uruguay had a very good team, and Ghana was really good too in this tournament. I mean, I liked what I saw from Ghana, but yeah, South Korea edged it in the last day.
I predicted Uruguay to win the group with South Korea second and Portugal third. My hatred of Cristiano Ronaldo clouded my vision a little bit, and they won the group. But I'm hoping that they don't do shit in the knockouts. I was right about South Korea at the very least, and then Uruguay I'm mad about only because I had Switzerland beating them in the next round if they played each other. And then I switched it when I was recording this pod, and then Uruguay got grouped. So I should have stuck with my gut.
but yeah, I mean, how do you not hate Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal if he claims that goal and the Portugal FA writes to FIFA saying no, it's his goal.
It's such loser shit. It's such loser shit. Oh my god, he is such a baby. It is unreal.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how much of a baby Cristiano Ronaldo is. It's unbelievable.
It's but still, he's still in the tournament, and there's a chance that they would go all the way, which is I've picked up my own cave that I'm gonna go and live if that happens. So don't expect me to hang around this place. Let's redo the prediction that we did last time, just because everything changed, of course. So let's do this. So obviously, Netherlands versus USA.
I'm sticking with my original prediction. I think the US can do this. I think the US's midfield is what's gonna be able to will them to a victory. Tyler Adams has been maybe one of the best players at this tournament. The way he's played for the US, he's just been phenomenal in facilitating matches. And there's rumors of a flu being hit in the Netherlands camp, and I'm grabbing any salt that I can to try to like say that the US is gonna win this.
Okay, okay. How about the Argentina versus
I think
Australia?
Argentina easily wins that game.
Um,
I think they're clicking into gear right now. I don't think Australia's got the quality to do it, and I think Argentina easily wins that.
okay, so moving on to England versus Senegal.
I think England wins it. I've been impressed with Senegal without Sadio Mane, but I think England's just got so much quality to be able to make a serious run in this tournament. So I'm going with England.
Do we even have to talk about France versus Poland, or do we just pick
No,
France?
because it's going to be France. It's absolutely going to be France.
Japan versus Croatia. That's the interesting one.
Yeah, I like Japan here. I think that they've shown to be a really resourceful team. I was not impressed by Croatia in that last match against Belgium.
Mhm.
I think if Romelu Lukaku finishes one of those huge chances at the end, it's Belgium in this spot and not Croatia.
Yeah.
And I think that just shows like, I mean, obviously it could have gone either way with Japan, but they were in a much tougher group, and I think they've shown to be really well organized. They've beaten Spain and Germany,
Yep.
and I think they can beat Croatia.
Brazil versus
Um,
South Korea.
I think Brazil wins this tournament, so I'm going Brazil.
Oh, what the hell is happening here?
uh,
Let me do
I
that.
think like makes you like log in. Oh no.
Oh, Telegraph,
Oh
what have you
no.
done? What have you done? Come on, I don't want all these things. Okay, the last one that we have, though, let's just pick it up, but without this thing. Last couple of things I think we have. Um, so let's, yeah, the last couple of things we have is, uh, Morocco versus Spain.
I like Spain in that game. I think the Spain team is proving me wrong. They're a good team, and I think they beat Morocco. But maybe I'm sleeping on Morocco again. Who knows?
And Portugal versus, what are they playing again?
They play Switzerland,
Switzerland. Yeah, Portugal versus
and
Switzerland.
I'm going back to it. I think Switzerland makes a run. I'm going to Switzerland. I'm going back to it.
Is
You
it is
tricked me out
how,
of it last time. You tricked me out of it last time. I'm not letting it happen again.
how much
And
of that is coming from like I hate Cristiano Ronaldo's part?
you know, me being a hater might play a role in it. But also, I like the Swiss team. I liked what they did against Serbia today, and I think they can make a run because that side of the tournament isn't that crazy, honestly. If they beat Portugal, like I don't hate their odds of making a run to the semis. Uh, so I'm going Switzerland. I'm going Switzerland.
Okay. Switzerland it is. I am still trying to get this up and running. Um,
I
we
think the next matches, if I remember correctly, would be US versus Argentina. I think Argentina wins that. I think the US's run comes to an end there if they do beat the Netherlands.
Okay.
And then if I am remembering right, after
Okay.
that,
One sec. Let me get that. It'll be US. France versus England. Is
yeah,
it?
and I think France wins that. That's gonna be. It's. I think it's unlucky for England that they have to face France in the quarterfinals, but yeah, I think France wins that. Unfortunately for England.
And Japan versus who wins
Brazil.
against Brazil? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Brazil wins that.
Mhm.
Credit to this Japan side, they've been good, but I think Brazil
They-
wins that. And
and
then
Spain
Spain,
versus
Switzerland. I think Spain wins that. I know I said like 5 minutes ago that I think Switzerland can make a run to the semifinals, but I'm going back on it already, and I think Spain wins that because like they've just proven me wrong. I'm willing to admit that Spain's just proven me wrong. I don't know why I was low on them, but um they've proven me wrong, and I think they win that game. And then I think Brazil.
So
I think
Argentina versus France, and we have Brazil versus Spain for
I
the
think it's
semifinals.
oh, is it?
Yep.
Is that the thing? I thought it was Brazil Argentina.
Is it? Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
I'm pretty
wrong.
sure it's I think it's Brazil Argentina, and I think
Okay.
Brazil wins that, and then France Spain, and I think France wins that. So and then Brazil wins the whole tournament. So the back half of the prediction, I don't think it's changed all that much. Like
Yeah.
the top left corner has been greatly impacted. But yeah, no, I don't think there's anything crazy changing in the prediction after the group stage. I think that it's still very clear that the top 4 teams are Argentina, France, Brazil, and England. Unfortunately for England, they play France in the quarterfinals. I don't think they'll make the semis. But yeah, same prediction for me at the end there.
So last question though, right? Like of all the players that you have seen right now in the World Cup, who has impressed you the most and who are you disappointed by the most?
Player that's impressed me the most.
For me,
I
it's Musiala, like the German
Okay,
guy.
yeah.
He was
He was
really good.
fantastic.
He was
I
fantastic. I
think
didn't have any idea about him.
yeah, if he can get a final ball, I think he is unplayable because he can just dribble through players so easily, and it's actually disgusting how he's able to do that. Really, really good player. I don't want to be such a homer, but like Tyler Adams has been so good. Like I can't emphasize enough how good Tyler Adams has been. Like I'm a big Tyler Adams fan, and I was not expecting him to be this good in this tournament. So I've been unbelievably impressed by him. And biggest disappointment, I'm gonna go with Harry Kane. I expected him. I was anticipating a Golden Boot campaign, and he's yet to score a goal. I don't think I think he still is like playing his role for England and contributing really well, but he's not scoring at the rate that I thought he would.
For me, it is Lukaku, because after all the things, I was like, okay, yeah, maybe he's not that bad, but then like he just missing everything. It just was very bad. It felt like it felt very bad about the whole tournament. Like also, the last thing about the whole World Cup discussion is like, do you see anyone that we could sign from the whole, the whole World Cup extravaganza, like for the Jan window that's coming up? Because we do have our season resume after this. So
in January, I'm not so sure because I think January is just such a tough window in general. Like it's hard to tell availabilities of certain players and what clubs are willing to sell. So I'm not sure for January, but I think there's definitely some that we could like be looking out for the summer. Like players we've been linked to the past. Like I keep talking about Tyler Adams, but like if we need a 6, Tyler Adams has proven to be a good 6 in the Premier League this season with Leeds, and also now in the World Cup with US, and shown to be a really efficient player in that role. And I think he would fit in really well at Arsenal. Obviously, that's me being very much a homer, but if you've watched Tyler Adams this tournament, you know that I'm not being a homer because he's just been so good.
Awesome. I guess that's our time. Thanks, Mitch. Thanks for taking time and again doing this World Cup special. And once again, please do follow Mitch and please do subscribe, like, and share our podcast if you're listening to it. Comment in your predictions, your players that you're impressed with, and everything. Thanks again, Mitch. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye.